Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be women who make dating difficult. Well, I've got an email here from a guy who says since he started following my work, he's dating several different women. He says it's completely changed his dating life. However, he's got this one girl, there's always this one girl, who he really likes, and he thinks, hey, she could be great girlfriend material, but the problem is that she's got kids, and so she always has to arrange a babysitter. So he basically writes in saying, hey, well, I can't really apply what you teach in your book regarding making definite dates. And so what happens is she often cancels dates at the last minute because he's always accepting maybe dates with her. And then he waits and waits and waits, and she's, oh, well, I couldn't get a babysitter. Sorry. And so he's like, I really like this girl, but the problem that and this is what you see a lot of guys do, and I used to do this myself, it's like when you really like somebody and they're better than anybody else that you're dating as far as your interest in them, you do things like this. You make excuses for them. Oh, I can't really apply what you teach in your book because this is a special case because this girl's got something different going on. But the reality is, because I've dated plenty of women over the years, and I've written about women I've dated that have little kids, the bottom line is if she really likes you, she'll find a fucking babysitter. And if her interest is low, if she can get a babysitter, maybe she'll go out with you. And if she can't, well, it's no skin off her back, and they just act like they're not really missing out on much. And if you are familiar with my book, then one of the women that I dated that I learned a lot from, you can see different phases when I was dating her in the beginning, how she was willing to clear her schedule and accommodate. And then when I started screwing up because I thought things had progressed far enough along, then she all of a sudden starts throwing, oh, well, my daughter's this, I can't get a babysitter. And she'd make excuses, and I would fall for that because, like, well, that sounds kind of reasonable. And I went along with it for a while, and then I realized this is ridiculous. When I first met her, she was willing. The daughter was never an issue. She never even brought it up. And now, when her attraction was low, there's always other excuses that play into it. But when you really like somebody, it's no amount of you liking them and wanting them is going to make them want you back. It's either there or it's not, but you also have to be a good negotiator. Now, it doesn't mean that if someone's attraction level in you is lower than your initial attraction in them is, that you can't raise it up, but you're going to have to work a lot harder at it. And part of his problem is now he's violating principles that I teach in my book, and so he's negotiating from a position of weakness. And he literally, at this point, is enabling this woman's behavior, and he's just inviting her to continue jerking him around because he doesn't act like a guy whose time is very valuable. So the way she treats him is kind of like, hey, if she can fit him in and get a babysitter and it's not too much of a hassle, she'll go out with him. Otherwise, why would you want to spend your time with somebody that has that kind of an attitude? Well, in his case, because he's fairly new to this stuff, and this, out of all the women that he's been dating since he found out about my work, this is the one he likes the most. And you can just see as I go through his email, like, what he does to bullshit himself and justify this kind of behavior when he wouldn't treat any of the other women that he's dating in the same way. He wouldn't be as accommodating for these other women just because his attraction level is not there. And the key is to get to the point where you have that balance, where you find the nice sweet spot to where you negotiate for yourself, but you're also not willing to go out of your way to spend time with somebody who just acts like, well, if I got nothing better to do, I'll go out with you. Why spend your money and your time? And your time is your most precious resource because we all have a limited amount of time. And the bottom line is once you spend an evening with somebody, you can't get that time back. It's gone forever. So choose very carefully the people who you spend your time with, because the quality of your life will be in direct proportion to the quality of the people who you consistently spend your time with. And if you're consistently going out with people who you really like, but they're just not that into you, you're going to be frustrated all the time. And the more you continue dating people like that, the more you're going to attract other people like that into your life, as opposed to just blowing them off when they don't reciprocate the same level of enthusiasm that you have for them. So I have a quote that I wrote, and then I'm going to go through his email. And the quote says, "When people really place a high value on being with you, they will make time in their schedule for you, express enthusiasm about seeing you, and be flexible in making themselves available to get together. People who have high interest in you will make it easy to arrange dates, even if it means that they have to move things around in their own schedule to accommodate you. People who have low interest in you won't go out of their way to accommodate your scheduling needs and will make you feel like not being able to see you isn't anything that they're missing out on. The only way you'll be able to attract and keep a high-quality lover is if you only make time for people who act like they value what you have to offer." And that's the biggest mistake that this guy is making, is that he's simply ignoring the fact that she's treating him like a second-class citizen, but because he really likes her, he's putting her on a pedestal a little bit and rationalizing, oh, well, she's got a kid. Okay, that makes sense. So I'll take the maybe date for Friday. And then, of course, she texts him like Friday afternoon and says, oh, gosh darn it, couldn't get a babysitter tonight. I guess we can't go out. Well, if she really wanted to see him and her attraction level was really high, she'd invite him over and they could make dinner and hang out at her place. But the bottom line is she's not willing to do that because she just doesn't place a high value on being with this guy. So let's go through his email. He says, "Hi, Corey. First off, thank you for doing what you do. I wish I had found this long ago, as I have screwed up so many potential relationships. Like you have mentioned, I swear it's been programmed in me to chase, and if they back off, you need to chase more and do extravagant things, like in the movies, to show them that you care." If you ask most women when a woman is backing off or not returning your phone calls, most women will say, well, you got to tell her how you feel. You got to let her know that you really like her and you're really interested. And that sounds reasonable. Oh, okay, well, she just doesn't know that I really like her. But yet this person's not making any time for you, is canceling dates. The bottom line is women know that if you're talking to them, if you've gone over and approached them, you're interested. If you're calling them to ask them on a date, they know that you're romantically interested in. That's the reality. But when you talk to female friends of yours, most of them are going to give you this kind of advice because they don't want to say anything to hurt your feelings. They think, oh yeah, you just need to pursue a little more, pursue a little harder. Do an extravagant date. That's what you see in the movies all the time. Spend a lot of money, do something really extravagant and ridiculous, and then she'll know that you really care. And women don't care about how much you like them. That has no bearing on their interest in you. The only thing that they care about is how interested in you they actually are. So no amount of you liking them excessively is going to do anything to make them like or want you more. He says, it's been like night and day when I actually apply your material. Isn't that interesting? In other words, when I apply your material, it works out great. But when he doesn't, like in this case, things don't go so well. And I have had a lot of really fun experiences from it. Well, that's the whole point, is to have really great experiences so you have great memories. Having beautiful girls actually chase you makes you feel like $1 million too. Yeah, it makes it easy and effortless. And as a man, if you're dating somebody and she's calling or texting you a couple of times a week and you know you're going to see her once or twice a week and you don't even have to call or text or pursue anymore, you just wait to hear from her because you're 3-4 weeks down the road and she feels safe and comfortable enough to do that, that makes you feel incredible. There's no doubt, there's no wondering whether or not you're going to get together or if she's going to like you. It's just automatic. And that puts a man totally in his masculine, and that allows him to focus 100% on his purpose and his mission in life. Because if you're dating somebody that you're constantly doubting yourself about, and you're constantly strategizing, okay, I'm going to call her on this day, and then hopefully she's going to want to see me, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go there. When you have all that doubt, it makes it really hard to focus on your mission and purpose. But when you apply the things I teach in my book, and you start to see how women behave naturally, they literally become so predictable, you can almost set your watch to it. And I mean that in a good way. Because it allows men to be efficient and be productive and their purpose and their mission in life, instead of spending a large part of their emotional capital, if you will, worrying over whether or not things are going to work out with a particular woman that they're dating. The reality is, when you meet somebody who has mutual high interest from the beginning, as long as you don't talk them out of it, and you follow what I teach in my book, because you read it 10 to 15 times, they eventually will become your girlfriend. And the more you go through that process, the more that's going to build your confidence, and the more certain you're going to become, and the higher the quality of woman that you're going to be able to date, obviously if you're a guy, and vice versa if you're a woman. I'm dating a few women, but one, notice what he says here. This is where he starts to go off the rails a little bit. I'm dating a few women, but one shines out as a potential long-term girlfriend. Notice how it's relatively new, and he's thinking girlfriend already. But he doesn't really know her well enough, and he's not paying attention to the fact that she's really not making much of an effort to accommodate him and her schedule. She's a single mom, though, so I am having trouble applying some of the techniques that you teach. Translation: well, because since she's got a kid, I'm just discarding all of it because it doesn't apply. Well, if you really knew the book, I've dated many women that have kids. And when they like you, they get a fucking babysitter. And when they're not that into you, if they can get a babysitter, yeah, they'll see it because it's better than staying at home looking at the four walls, but they're not going to go out of their way. And then when you go out with those women on dates, you have to work extra hard to keep the conversation going. It's just like you feel like you're with an energy vampire. And when you get enough experience dating women who are really high quality and really into you, you just won't waste your time with women like this. She needs to set up a babysitter before each date. I tried to steer the night back to my place almost every date. What about her place? If you're picking her up at her house, maybe you can have a bottle of wine with you. You know, girlfriends that I've dated, usually what happened is they would get a grandmother or a sister or a babysitter and take their kid over to that place instead of having somebody come over and watch the child, so we could have some alone time, some adult time. But women are only going to do that when they really like you, because they want some privacy and some mommy time as well, so they can be an adult as opposed to always having the kid there. But if she's not that into you, she's not going to go out of her way. He says, I try to steer the night back to my place almost every date, but she usually has to go as she only has the babysitter until certain times. Well, in that case, if she's coming over to your place, you could invite her over to, instead of you driving to pick her up, if she's pressed for time, have her come over and make dinner together. And that way you can hang out, have fun, and hook up. But obviously, she's probably onto your act because you're acting a little robotic with things, and she knows that you want to get in her pants, and that's why she conveniently uses the babysitter excuse to spoil your evil plans, if you will. She will only stay over if she sets up a babysitter for the whole night, so she basically has to pre-plan that she will sleep with me. So what I would do in this case, if it really is that big of a deal to her, just say, you know what? If you're not sure, why don't you check with your babysitters and find out what nights you can definitely get a babysitter for, and then get back to me, and then we can make plans, because I only got a couple open nights this week. And I don't want to be leaving my night open till the last minute just to have you say, oh, well, I can't get a babysitter. We'll have to do it some other time. Because I'd much rather make plans when you definitely know that we can get together, and then I can do something else when you're not able to. But you're basically communicating to her that you're going to put your whole personal life on hold for a maybe. And that is a violation of what I teach in the book. Because if you're successful, if a lot of women are interested in you, if you're a high status, high value male who has lots of choices, you're going to spend your time only with women who really like you. I mean, think about it. If you got 10 women that want to date you, and you only have 1 or 2 nights a week where you're available for a date, whoever the hottest, the most flexible, the easiest to be with, and the most fun to be with, that's who you're going to make your plans with. Women like this, they're just not going to fit into your schedule. So these women will never get past the first or second date. But because he really likes her, He's bending himself into a pretzel to accommodate her, and it's not getting him anywhere except being sexually frustrated. I'm trying to figure out how to be more direct and playful and tell her she should get the babysitter the whole night, but her mindset when setting up the babysitter is usually not in that mood. It's usually midweek while at work. We'll just say, hey, what's your schedule? What's your schedule like over the next couple of weeks? Why don't you check with your babysitters and find out what days you can definitely get a babysitter for, because I'd really like to see you again. And then get back to me and we'll make definite plans once you know what your babysitter schedules are like. That would be an easier approach, because the idea is to be direct, decisive, make a fucking date, not leave things up in the air and wait for her to get back to you. Because in my book, when you do exactly what this guy is doing, it says you will get jerked around. And I learned that the hard way over many, many years of fucking up. And so you're relatively new to the work and you're applying these things with other women, but you're making a special exception for this woman because she has a kid, but really because you really like her. But you're ignoring the fact that she's just not willing to go out of her way for you. Do you really want to spend your time with somebody that treats you that way? I think not. Also, I can't make concrete dates as she first needs to see if she can get a babysitter. That's exactly why I would tell her, figure out what nights you're free and that you can definitely get a babysitter for, and then get back to me and then we can plan our next date. That's what I would say to her. I would never say, okay, well, Thursday, and well, I'll let you know if I get a babysitter. I'd say, no, I only have a few days available this week to get together, so why don't you find out over the next 2 weeks? Let's just say, well, you know what? Let's go out instead of this week, because it sounds like your schedule's a little too up in the air. So why don't we plan on getting together maybe sometime next week, but find out when you can get a babysitter for and on what nights. And then that way, a week and a half or so from now, we can make definite plans instead of me sitting around waiting till the last minute and then you just say, oh, well, sorry, I can't see you because I couldn't get a babysitter. That's not fair to me, and because my time is valuable too. If you say that in a nice way, she'll understand it. And if not, so what? If she's willing to blow you off because of that, she wasn't that into you anyways. He says, so I set out exact times and dates, but she can't say yes right away, and I need to wait to see if she sets up a babysitter. Again, this is the exact opposite of what I teach in my book, and this is why you are getting jerked around, because you are inviting her to jerk you around. Because this is a situation that is discussed in my book. When you violate the principles, you're going to experience pain. I can't seem to apply this one. She has said yes before without getting a babysitter, and she ended up canceling as she could not get one. Well, again, if she really wanted to see you, she would have said, hey, I couldn't get a babysitter, but I'd really like to see you, so why don't you just come on over and we'll hang out here. You know, my kids we can put them in the other room, they can watch some movies or some cartoons, and we can make dinner together and have some fun. Great. Sounds like a great idea. She was upset with herself for doing that. Sure, I'm sure she was putting on a little bit of an act as well. Gosh darn it, I really wanted to see you. Darn it, maybe next time. And I think it's in my best interest to wait as well rather than pressure her. Does that sound like a guy who's dating an equal, or does that sound like a guy who's putting this woman on a pedestal, kissing her ass and treating her like a celebrity? Bad way to go, dude. No one will ever do or say anything to you that you don't invite them to do. You're literally begging her to jerk you around. Think about it. If Brad Pitt was single and wanted to take her out, but he only had one night he was available next week to see her, she'd find a fucking babysitter. She would figure that shit out. That's a reality. And that's what you're ignoring. She sometimes have a habit, though, of waiting a few days, like up to 1 or 2 days before our date, to tell me she has a babysitter. And that's just because she hasn't decided whether or not she really wants to see you. Again, that's low interest on her part. Why be an option in somebody's life? If you're not a priority, no way. Set your dates a week and a half out, and make her find a babysitter first and make definite plans with the babysitter, and then you can make plans for your date. Instead of putting your whole personal life on hold just to get jerked around and blown off at the last minute. That's just not cool. You don't get what you deserve in life. You only get what you negotiate. And you're being a really shitty negotiator, dude. You're acting like a guy whose time is worthless. And that's why she treats you like your time is worthless. Because remember, people will behave consistently with who they view themselves to be, whether that view is accurate or not. Are you behaving like a guy who values his time, whose time is scarce and very valuable? Or are you acting like a guy who's just begging somebody to spend time with them? I have a hard time finding a good middle ground of how much to press here. If I act like I don't care and wait too long, I start to feel like I am letting her walk all over me by making me wait. Well, you already are making her walk all over you, or letting her walk all over you, and inviting her to walk all over you because you're putting your personal life on hold. Remember in the book, what does it say? Well, if you're not sure of your schedule, why don't you figure it out and get back to me? In this case, she's got kids. Okay, why don't you figure out what days you absolutely, definitely, 100% can get a babysitter and get back to me, and then we can pick a day and time that works for both of us. As far as the logistics of sex, don't be a robot and always be trying to bring her back to your place if it's getting in the way. If she gets a babysitter and you want her to come over and make dinner together, then great, have her drive to your place and you can do that and accommodate some time. But if she's going to come over to your house at 7, but then she has to leave at 9, I wouldn't be making a date like that. If she says, oh, well, I have to leave by 9, say, you know what, I'd really like to spend some time with you instead of being rushed. So let's just do it another night when you can get a babysitter and we can actually spend some quality time together. You got to be willing to do the takeaway. Think about what you want. What about your time? If I press her on it and ask a few times, I feel I come off as needy. Any advice here? Well, I think I've covered it pretty much in detail, what I would do and how I would change the approach. But the real problem is you're violating the principles in the book, and so therefore you're getting jerked around, and that's his I mean, you can set your fucking watch to that. I mean, when I read through that, it's like he doesn't see it, but the bottom line, he's being a bad negotiator, and he's acting like a guy that really has nothing to offer. Like you're literally begging somebody to spend time with you. You don't get what you deserve in life. You only get what you negotiate. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to go to my website, click the products tab at the top of the page on any screen of my website or any page of my website, and pick whatever option works best for you as far as coaching options. And I will talk to you soon.